This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com. To find out how you can help kickstart our latest show live from Bay 6, visit our website and click on the Kickstarter button. Hey there guys, and welcome to episode number 28 of Sketchup, a 3D toolbox. I'm Cameron Harris, and today we're going to start talking about advanced molding. Now by molding, I mean things like baseboards. We're also going to be doing some crown molding and even some wainscoting using the Follow Me tool. Let's get started. Okay, so here's our house project just as we left it. We've got all these great colors and textures going on here, and today we're going to go one step further with all this architecture, and we're going to start adding the details like molding. Now, you might be thinking, oh, we've done this before, and it's true, we've done baseboards before, little detail strips of molding that run along the bottom edge of a room, right between the wall and the floor. We've done that before when we were building a small living room project, but because we have so much more to work with a small house, I'm going to show you some more advanced ways of taking that same technique and applying it to other things, not just baseboards. I'm going to show you how to do those again too, but we're also going to do crown molding, which is kind of like baseboards for the ceiling, and wainscoting. And I'll show you what those look like in a minute. But for now, let's just do a quick refresher course and we'll do some basic baseboards. Now to do baseboards, we use the Follow Me tool, but I'm not going to show you how to get to that yet because we don't actually use it yet. What the Follow Me tool does, if you haven't watched our episode on the Follow Me tool, go back. It's the one where we actually did all the baseboards for the living room episode, but I'll give you a brief refresher course now. The Follow Me tool basically takes whatever shape you've just drawn or just selected, and then it extrudes it across a path. It's kind of like the push-pull tool, except that it actually can go in more than one direction. You can have it go all the way around a room, wrap around, for example, and you can do all kinds of really cool stuff with it. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to draw the shape. Now the shape, in the case of a baseboard, is kind of like the profile of the baseboard. It's not going to have any depth. It's going to be a two-dimensional shape that you draw. So that's what we're going to do first, but remember, let me show you a brief little demonstration. Let's say I wanted to start at right here. This is where I want to start. I don't want any baseboards in the doorway, of course, so I'm going to start right here at my end point or start point where my path is going to start. And if I were to start drawing a shape, for example, let's just say I draw a really bad shape, but just really quickly. Okay, let's say this was going to be my baseboard. When I extrude it out, you'll notice that it's still, all of these are still in raw line and face mode. That means once my baseboards are there, they're basically stuck, glued to the rest of my room. I won't be able to just delete just the baseboards or edit just the baseboards later on. It's going to be incredibly difficult because this stuff isn't grouped. This is where groups, you really want to start grouping things. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to undo what I just did there. And I'm now going to triple click on one of my walls. Now remember, single click selects just that face or just that line. Double click selects that face as well as all the lines on that face. And triple clicking selects that face or that line and all the faces and lines that are connected to it in the raw line and face mode that are ungrouped, basically. And you can see that it's selected pretty much everything. Now this is good because our doors and windows are grouped already. That's the way they came in from the 3D warehouse, so we don't need to worry about them. They're already separate. That's why we could grab one of these windows and move it out without, disrupting anything. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to group this stuff, which is going to be our walls and our floor. So I'll just right click anywhere on here and I'll choose Make Group. And you can see now it's all one big group. I click on one thing, it selects all of them all at once. So that's perfect. And I can still double click and get in and edit my rooms if I want to, but at this point my floor plan is pretty much nailed down. And we've done all our colors and textures as well. It's easier to do those in raw line and face mode and then group them, but it's entirely up to you. More of a personal choice than anything. And now what I can do is I can make, whatever shape I want. Let's say I were to make, a shape like this, and I could, select this and move it without it sticking to anything. So that's great. But now I'm going to go ahead and draw the profile of my molding here. So I'm going to start by drawing a line right here at this corner, come out maybe 1/4 of an inch. So I'll just go ahead and type in 0.25, and then I'll have it go up maybe 3 inches, 3. And I'll zoom in a little bit here. There we go. And that looks pretty good right there. And then I just need to do one last line. Even though there's a line already here, it's grouped, so it's not going to affect these lines that I'm making here. I'm just going to retrace this guy here. There we go, I've got it. And don't really want that side to be purple, so I'm just going to right-click on it and say Reverse Faces. That way the white side is facing out. That is as it should be. So that's great. Now that's what the profile of my molding is going to look like. And just to kind of show you what I mean by that, if I were to take just a simple push-pull tool and just extrude this across, this is what my molding is going to look like. But you can see once I hit this corner here, I can't go any further. I can't have it turn that corner and go around. It's going to get pretty tricky, pretty complex, pretty quickly. So this is where the Follow Me tool comes in. So many tools. Got to remember all these names. So now the Follow Me tool needs 2 things. As I said, it needs the profile of whatever shape you want it to extrude, which is this right here. But then it also needs a path for it to follow. Without a path, it doesn't know where to go. And the path needs to be a series of lines that are all connected. Now in this case, we want to follow the edge of this room, but keep in mind, the lines are all grouped, and that's as it should be. So what we're going to do is we're just going to retrace these lines so that in this outer ungrouped area, basically we want the lines to be in the same group and individually selectable, just like the profile of our molding is. If that made no sense, just keep watching. It'll make more sense visually. So I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm just going to draw a line here off to this corner. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape tool to stop here. You can see it doesn't look like anything's really happened, but you can see if I click here, I can now select just that line, because that's technically speaking, that's a second line that exists outside of the grouped walls and floor. If I click over here, even though it looks exactly the same, I can't select just that line. I have to select all of this thing. So, and I need to be in the same group, or in this case, the non-group, as my profile here. So I'm going to continue to retrace my lines here. I want it to go all the way across this wall here. And it's kind of like a connect the dots thing. It hasn't detected that it's circled back on itself yet, so it's going to keep going until I tell it to stop. Just like connect the dots. Okay, now here we go. I've reached this point here. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to hit the escape key because I don't want my molding to go past these, this guy here. I want to start, stop at this doorway and then continue once it goes here. You can't do that with the Follow Me tool. You need to have one solid line path that doesn't break up. So I'll just have to do 2 different line paths for this room. So I'm going to go ahead and select this line. Now I'll hold down the Shift key, select that line, and that line. And I think there's one more over here. Yes, that line. Okay. So now I've got this whole line segment selected, and you can see if I zoom out, you can see I've got this nice blue outline. That's where I want the Follow Me tool to extrude my molding. And I've got my profile shape right here. So now with all of my lines selected, I switch to the Follow Me tool. You need to be in the Selection tool to select your lines, and then I'm going to go over to the tool palette here. It's not, the Follow Me tool isn't up in your toolbar by default because it's such an odd tool that you won't use that much, but it is in your tool palette, and it also doesn't have a keyboard shortcut, so you do need to go over here and manually click on it, or you can go up to the Tools menu up here and choose Follow Me right here, which is what I'll do here. And you can see once I did that, it deselected my line segment. Now don't worry, that line segment, that information is now within the Follow Me tool. So it knows, okay, when you switch to me, these were the lines that you had selected. That's the path that I'm going to use. Now all that it's waiting for is for us to tell it which face it wants us to extrude, which in this case is our little profile shape right here. So immediately after selecting the Follow Me tool, I'm going to click on this shape here and look at that. This is what I love about the Follow Me tool. It just extruded all that stuff around like that. beautiful. And it stopped where the line segments stopped right there. Perfect. And you can see, even at the corners, it did the transition perfectly. That's something that you could do by hand theoretically, but it would just take forever. And that's why I just love the Follow Me tool. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up this room here. Remember, we did all this, but we've got this spot right here that we want to finish up as well. I'll show you a quick way to do that. We can actually just double-click on our original profile face here. Select that, and then I'm just going to use the Move tool and hit the Option key to drag a copy of that face over here. Let's just put it right here on this wall right there. And I'll reverse the face as well. That's just kind of my OCD coming out. Perfect. So now we've got that all set up. I'm going to go ahead and draw the line paths for this back corner right here, which is going to be pretty simple. I just need a line there and a line there. That's all I need. And then I'll use the selection tool, select those two lines. Whoops, I accidentally selected the group. You notice how the rest of the lines in the group are all blue. So I can just shift click on the group again and deselect it. There we go. So now I've got just those lines. And then I will switch to the Follow Me tool again. Click on this face here. There we go. So now I've got the molding for this room completely done. That's perfect. So I'll just go ahead and actually triple click on this piece right here, and I will group it. And then I'll triple click on this piece over here. Select, oops, all of that molding. There we go. And then I'll just group that. So all of that molding is its own group as well. Perfect. And now I can, go in here and I could just delete this molding and not delete the rest of my walls and floors in here. So that's perfect. So that's the way that tool works. And you can go ahead and do this same molding in all the rest of your rooms if you wanted to. But let's do something a little bit more interesting. Let's do some crown molding, which is kind of like a really fancy baseboard, but that goes up at the ceiling. Now it's really cool looking, and I'll show you how you can do that. Let's have it so that our crown molding let's have it be out in this main room here. And in fact, let's have it carry all the way into the hallway as well. So our crown molding will basically just go all around here and into our hallway as well. So that'll be nice. Now the one thing we have to watch out for is that we don't go lower. Make sure the crown molding doesn't interfere with our doorway here, but that's a few feet between the ceiling and the doorway. I think we'll be fine. Crown moldings are usually only like 6 or 8 inches. So let's find a corner to start with. Yeah, let's go with this back corner right here. So this is where we'll draw our profile. Now our walls are already grouped, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and start drawing this. And I'm going to make these a little bit more detailed than the baseboards because they're going to be a little bit bigger. So I'll draw one line down here, and I'll go ahead and make it 6 inches. There we go. So there's the point right there. And then I'll go ahead and draw another line out here, maybe another 6 inches. There we go. So now if I select these, those are the 2 lines. Now I'm going to do some kind of more fancy stuff. I could just draw another line right here, but that would, that's too easy. That's too simple. Let's do something a little bit more fancy. So let's use the line tool. And at this point, I'm just going to kind of freestyle this. Move down 1/2 inch. You can do whatever you want. Maybe move in 1 inch. It's really up to you. I'm going to actually use the arc tool here. Now remember, with the arc tool, when you're doing small details like this, you don't need as many sides. You notice down at the bottom right corner where I have my dimensions box, it now says sides 12. For something like this, it's only going to be a few inches long. I don't need 12 sides. That's going to add up pretty quickly, and my model's going to slow down. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch our episode on either the arc tool or the circle tool. That'll kind of get you up to speed on that. But for now, I'm just going to type in maybe, let's go 3 sides. There we go. That should do it. And now I'm actually going to I'm actually going to use the line tool real quick, and I'm just going to kind of go down like this and give myself a little bit of a guideline. I'll go down 3 inches and in 2 inches. And now I'm going to use the arc tool and go in between these guys here and do something like, let's see here, adjust my orientation. Let's go with something like that. There we go. And then I don't need these lines here anymore. Delete those. This part, I think, is really fun because you can just kind of do whatever you want and just kind of really have some fun with it. This is kind of like, sketching. And I'll have this come down maybe. How much room do I have to play with here? Oh, plenty. Just kind of come down maybe, come over 1/4 of an inch, come down 2 inches, and finish up there. Okay, so looking at that face now, not too wild about it. I'm actually going to redo that. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to kind of come in 2 inches. Maybe not 2 inches. Maybe I'll just do 1 inch. There we go. And then I'll just go straight down like that. Get rid of these extra lines here. That's a little bit more like it. So I've got something pretty interesting going on here. I think that's going to look pretty good. Let's just do a quick little preview with the push-pull tool. Pretty interesting, although I'm not really liking this sharp corner right here. Let's just kind of use the arc tool again and just kind of get it nice and smooth. Use the eraser tool and get rid of these extra lines right here. Extrude this out. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's a little bit more like a crown molding piece. You could even go to like a hardware store and look at a piece of crown molding, take a photo of it, and then use that as a guide when you model your own if you don't want to, go to that amount of trouble. But, do whatever you want, whatever you think looks good. Make it as fancy or as simple as you like. So now the next step is to draw our line path, which is going to be this entire outer room here. So we're actually going to zoom out for this. This is where snapping really comes in useful in SketchUp. I'm going to start at this corner. I'm just going to go tracing along this entire edge right here. There we go. And you can see because I drew a line that enclosed the entire room, I got this face right here. I'm just going to select that face and delete it. So now I'm going to go around and I'm going to select those lines that I just made. There we go, got them all. And now, this is going to be pretty impressive. I'll switch to the Follow Me tool. Oh, okay, one important thing to point out. You notice I almost didn't catch this. You notice that it didn't select this last piece of the line right here because we drew that separately. Let's go ahead and select that. There we go. Now we've got it enclosing the entire room. Be careful of that if you do end up drawing in a corner like this. Then we'll switch to the Follow Me tool and click on our face here. Look at that. It may be purple, but that's very easy to fix. But it went around the entire room. So impressive. And what I think is so amazing is look at these corners right here. Look at what it did. I mean, that amount of detail would take you hours to do around this entire room. Now, I know it's purple. The Follow Me tool sometimes reverses the faces, so the purple side or the back side is facing out. But if it does that, it's very easy to fix. You just triple click on your object so it selects all the faces and just click reverse faces. There we go. Nice white molding. And look at this from down here. I mean, that just looks so cool. Very impressive. So I'm loving that. Now the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is even cooler because, I mean, in my opinion, the bigger things you do with the Follow Me tool, the cooler it is. So let's do some wainscoting in this red room right here. I think that would look really cool. Now before we do that though, I want to thank the people who make this show possible. 3D Connection. These guys make the Space Navigator, which is the coolest way to navigate in SketchUp. It just does away with all those old school keyboard shortcuts and mouse movements and switching between tools, and it's just so fantastic. It's give you such a smooth, natural experience. And in fact, I've been trying to come up with a nice analogy of what it's like to use the Space Navigator because, you really got to try one to know exactly what it feels like. It's just so unbelievable. But I think I've come up with a pretty good analogy. If you ever play video games on like a PlayStation or an Xbox or something like that, and you're holding that controller in your hands with the joystick, this thing is like a big joystick. So really, when you're navigating in SketchUp, it feels like a video game, except that, rather than, fighting zombies or, solving mysteries or whatever it is you do in video games, you're actually going through and you're actually building things. So you can actually walk through these environments that you've built yourself. You're basically building your own video game in SketchUp. And it's just the coolest experience because it does feel very much like a video game. And particularly once you start adding in all the details like the doorways and the windows. And you can even start adding in people if you wanted to. Take photos of people and put them in here. It's just so much like a video game. And, if this is something that you're doing as a project or for work, it really makes it a lot funner. It's so cool. I want you guys to check them out. Their website is www.3dconnection.com. Take a look at the Space Navigator. I think you guys are really going to like it. I want to thank these guys so much for making this episode of SketchUp a 3D Toolbox possible. All right, so here's our red room here. Now, if you don't know what wainscoting is, wainscoting, at least, the kind that I know, is basically like the bottom half or the bottom third of a room that is kind of like just one huge, gigantic piece of molding. It's like this kind of cool detail stuff. But it's actually pretty simple to do in SketchUp, particularly with the Follow Me tool. So I'll show you how we can do it. I'm going to start, just like in the green room, I'm going to start at this edge right here. If you can't start, this is the best way to start, is kind of like right at an edge right here. If you have a gap where you don't want, the Follow Me tool to actually work, you can start right here. But if not, you can work in a corner too, but this is a little bit easier in my opinion. Now with wainscoting, we want it to be as tall as possible, but we don't want it to overlap with these windows here. So let's just measure real quick how high we can go. Okay, 3 feet. That's actually perfect. If we make our wainscoting 3 feet, it'll just go right up to the edge of that windowsill right there. So that'll be fantastic. So let's start by, just make sure we're grouped still. Yeah, we are. I'm going to start by drawing a nice tall line right here, 3 feet high. Okay, so this line right here, that's how high we can go. That's what we have to work with. And now I'm going to do some pretty simple stuff. The crown molding was the most complex. This is actually just about almost as simple as a baseboard. I'm going to come out a 1/2 inch, so I'll do 0.5, and then I'll come down maybe 2 inches. And then I will come back in a 1/4 inch. And then I'll actually go back down here. I'll stop drawing that line. I'll come out another 1/2 inch, go up maybe 3 inches, come back in a 1/4 inch. All these numbers you can kind of just, make up yourself however you like. Come back up here. There we go. So now I've got that. Now let me just give you a quick little preview. This is a good thing to do before you use the Follow Me tool. You go to all that trouble of creating your lines and selecting them. Just use the Push-Pull tool and just extrude these out in one direction. You can see that's what your wainscoting is going to look like. Pretty neat stuff. So I'm liking that. Let's go ahead and draw the path for it. So I'll start here, and I don't believe we have another doorway in this room like we did in the green room, so we can just do this all in one pathway. Go back over to that corner, and that corner, and that corner, and stop right there. Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, and I'll hit the escape key to stop drawing these lines. Start selecting my line segments. You don't have to select them in order either. You can select them in whatever order you want. Just make sure that you select them all. There we go. Now I'm going to switch to the Follow Me tool, and I'm going to have it use this shape here. Now check that out. How cool does that look? I mean, that just gives it so much elegance and detail. And you can see it just goes right up to that window ledge right there. I really like that. If you want to, you could add some lines here, make it look a little bit more like boards that were painted if you wanted, or texture these however you want, but I'm kind of liking the simple white on all of these. Oh, and I almost forgot to do this with our crown molding. Triple click on the crown molding, make it a group, triple click on our wainscoting, make it a group. There we go. Now have fun with this. I'm probably going to go ahead and do the same molding that I did in the green room, do it on all the rest of the rooms, except for the red room, of course. I'll just make that wainscoting. But have fun with this. You could do different moldings in different rooms, have them be detailed or intricate or, simple like the moldings we did here, or really fancy like this crown molding. I'm just loving this crown molding. I mean, it just looks so cool. And so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. You guys don't really need to see me do that. If you want to do this to your house or do whatever you want, feel free. If you want to pick up where we left off, if you want to use this house as a template to practice your molding and floorboards and all that stuff with your Follow Me tool, I'm going to have the project as it was at the beginning of this episode up on our website. Just go to the show notes for this episode of Sketchup, a 3D Toolbox, and you'll be able to download the lesson file from there. Well, have fun with this technique. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with the molding. You can do different shapes rather than just the simple molding that I was doing for our baseboards. You could make your crown molding really, really intricate. Have fun with this. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. Now, until next time, be sure to visit our website at www.harwoodpodcast.com. I'll have the show notes for this episode up there, all of our past episodes, and the lesson files for this and all of our previous episodes if you want to follow along with us. And if you have any questions or comments for me about the show, you can send me an email at cameron@harwoodpodcast.com. Till next time, I'll just say goodbye and good modeling.